building a reggae dub track from scratch, part 4. Now we part 4, so the reading have been done and processed. I mean, each track have been processed with some compressor or EQ or effects. Brief. The different decisions we do in the previous episode. We also export all this by rename it and then select everything, select the loop, Control Shift R and export them. Okay, so this have been done already. So I close this one called Reading from Scratch. So I have some template, but we will do from scratch also for the mix here. So first, my track was at 150. I needed to write 150 because I was programming and I like to have the 8th note in the ear when I program. Now it's for mix, so let's put the right tempo, so 75. Okay, now I will seek for the folder. Okay. So I just take it, drag, and when you drag, it's one beside the other. You just hold Control, and it puts vertically. Okay, I set the colors. So 11 tracks, we will try to group them to make the dub a bit more easier to mix. For example, piano and organ can be grouped together, as they play the same part. So let's group them, call it skunk. So now we will create another track, an insert track, and put it in red and call it rec. This is where we will record our mix, our live mix. You can record it or via resampling or record the master bus directly. Let's go for the master bus. Okay, so we have all our track. We assume that everyone got the right amount of volume. So for this first dub session, we will just work with the mute button and not the volume. It will simplify. So I have a controller, like a launchpad, with just some switches on it. And what we will do, we will assign the switches to the mute and to the effect send, like reverb send and things like that. So first I will create one return track and another return track, and we will call them room 1 and room 2. This effect will be open all way long, and I take 2 rooms to have 2 reverb, different reverb. One reverb for the room 1 and one for the room 2. Full weight, And let's say we will put the snare in this. Let's just put, yeah. I put some elements that happen not always, like snare or mute guitar, in the longer verb, aka room 1. Okay, now let's set a second verb with the room 2, full weight, and change the color, leaving the high, passing, and cutting the low. So I do the opposite of room 1. Okay, and same way, we have 160, we will stay shorter here with 800. So as we are in part 4, I just re-explain how I fix this is through a calculation with number 60,000, and I divide this by my tempo, so 150 or 75, but here for me. So it gives me 400. If I divide 6,000, 60,000 by 75, it gives me the value of a quarter note. Yes, to be clear. So 800 is the value of a quarter note. As it is shorter, perhaps we can send a bit of kick in it. The horns. And a bit of room on the kick. Okay, for this reverb, I think we will cut the low also. So we can also send a bit of the mid verb, mid bass, into this short verb, excuse me. Okay, and let's put all the music, and we will add a compressor after those verbs. So a compressor after a verb is not an obligation, far from this. But I use this into the computer so I can have a sick verb, and I will drop down his volume and make it come back into the mix. Let's say it's okay for this. And so we will not automate those two one. Those two one are just for the ambience. Okay. Now let's add 3 auxiliaries. So return track. Okay, we can have, for example, a phasing or phaser effect. One delay, another delay, and add another chain. for the big verb, for big reverberation. Now I will open the several effect. Let's start with the big verb. So I put it here, and I will set it for it to be big, but keeping it time. So it's 800 milliseconds for 1/4 note at 75 beat per minute. Okay. So I take a multiple of this 800. It gives me 3020. Let's test it with the snare. You can even double it or add something like this. So when we launch the effect, we read clearly. Okay, let's try on the piano now. Don't want this. Okay. Just add something here because it goes crazy. First delay, good echo into Ableton called echo. So let's try this one, full weight. We have a filter here. We can cut a bit the low frequency or the high as you wish. Okay, let's say it's cool for this second delay, long one. And I will copy it on the other delay return. Okay, and change its value here. For example, something like this, and make it ping pong. Okay, and I put utility to reduce the width of this delay. I love pan, but not too much pan. Okay. And for the phaser, I will add first the saturator to have some dust before my phaser. Okay. So let's say it's okay also for this phasing. So you set up your effects, and now we have 4 effects, and we will assign the several controller we need. So my controller got 8 rows, so I will try to reduce all my track to 8 different track. So first I can close the return track for the moment. Okay, let's say those two one can be on the same also. These are the bass. And I will automate possibility to mute the distortion in it. Let's put the kete with the snare. 8 track. I take my controller, and on the first row of 8, I will put the mute. So I click on this icon, MIDI or Control M. Then I put my mute. On the row above, I will put the last send. Okay, the echo. Then the other echo. And the phasing effect. So on my controller, it's a grid of 8 by 8 buttons. So the 5 first row from the bottom are assigned to all of them. Okay. We can also assign some additional thing. You can activate the send of the return track. So this is the return track of the phasing, and I will activate it for it to go into the first reverb. If I remove the reverb on the phasing, so now I will assign just one other thing, the possibility of removing all the bass or the mid bass from the mix. For the moment, I have one button that removes the whole group. So I will add 2 buttons to remove this bass. So MIDI, and I choose 2 of my controller button. Okay. So okay, now we have assigned a different controller. So you have to know when you assign a switch on a knob, you have in the list here all those knobs you assign with your switch, and you can choose the max and the minimum value. If your snare, for example, go too much into the phaser, you will reduce the maximum value to -6, for example. Can have other things very loud in it, like the kick and everything. But I will leave you the choice of doing it. So now, next step, we are close to the mix. You will not see the controller with the video, but imagine there's the controller here, and I program nothing, and I will just do some mix. So to do some mix, I set the rec, my rec track, recording the master bus. So I set the input of this rec track to master, post mixer. So you put a loop around your track. Okay. And let's say we will do 2 mixes and see after how we will do with those mixes. So live and direct on the controller, dubwise, from scratch. So this was for the first mix. Just check the second mix. I didn't think about it, but we could also duplicate all this and do our second mix here. Okay, that's it. So now when you get your track, if you set up well your levels before your mix and everything, there's not a lot of things to do here. Okay. As I say, we don't go deep here. We'll just do a some quick treatment you can do before sending it to a buzzer you work with or something like that. If you want to go crazy, you can also add another saturation here. Something like that, tapping the top each time is not very useful. You can just make it for you to hit from time to time, but not often. Of course, we can go far deeper. I just drop some ideas here of what I would do, and sometimes I even don't remove this. They say it's better for the amp and everything not to have frequency behind 20, but yeah, I guess you can also remove it and just search for if there's a peak somewhere, a resonance, one or two resonance. For example, here. So when you do this, it's cool to add a limiter after, so you can crank it and hear it becoming dirty without hitting the headroom of the master. Okay. So I think this kind of thing I would remove them. Try to find one or two other. For example, it's whistle here. Sometimes you don't need a lot. Even 4 dB it's a lot in this case. So just reduce it Because remember, if we do this, we accentuate like 30 dB, so it's normal we hear it resonate. But we will try to remove them a little bit, and we will know they are not heard. Can remove this also a little bit. Okay, let's say that's what I want. Yeah, we are okay. So it's really a quick gel of everything, but usually you take more time and you will do this the tomorrow or 2 days after doing the mix to have fresh air and feeling what frequency you want to remove or add. If you want to add some saturation more, etc. Most of the plugin to do a little master like this, always same thing. I mean, EQ, saturation, compression, limiter. When this is done, you can just export your tracks one by one. Control Shift R, and we will tell it to take the rec, and before this, excuse me, we will put the volume at 0 for this rec. Okay. So Control Shift R. And the second one. So as long as you have not a big work to do or something very precise for production or something like that, the best way is to go quick like this, so you can lay out some ideas, and when the ideas are good, you go deeper into every tuning of your track. So let's save this. Long session episode of building a reggae dub from scratch. Let's hear some of the mix we did. Here our mix. I dropped down the volume a bit and we'll listen to one of them. So yes, let's check the part 2. So two exclusive from the tutorial series, Shieldrum